Hello, everybody. We're going to be starting in just a few minutes. I'm just waiting for the top of the hour. As you join, just make sure you type in where you're calling from, and we'll get going. And I have about 4 minutes. My motto is start on time and early, so we're going to be starting right at the top of the hour. So again, as you join me, just type in where you are in this moment, what part of the world, and how you found out about this webinar. New Year's resolutions made easy. Even if you have your New Year's resolutions, we can come up with ideas on how to fine-tune them so that they are the biggest and the best for you. In the meantime, let's play some music while we're waiting here. Let me see, what can we play? Welcome to the webinar. We're going to be starting in just a few minutes. As you hop on, just type in the chat box where you're calling in from and how you heard about the webinar. Hi, Richard, calling in from Cheektowaga. Good to see you. Again, as we hop on, just type in where you're calling in from and how you heard about this webinar. Oh, we also have Elaine calling in from Florida. And Judy from Texas. Christy from California. And William from Tonawanda. And Robin from Stratford, Ontario. Welcome, everybody. Okay, I have that it is the top of the hour, so we're going to get started here. I want to thank you all for joining me on this sunny where I am afternoon. And New Year's resolutions, it is that time of year. And even if you have New Year's resolutions created already, you can still benefit from this webinar. So it's a privilege for me to have this opportunity to work with you. I'm Lynn Tranchel. Thank you for attending today. And we're going to have some exercises. So I want to make sure that you have a pen and paper. And if you have one available, a 3x5 card would be great. If not, that's fine too. And since this is a webinar, it's easy to get distracted by things around you. So I encourage you to turn off your email, put your phone on silence, and close the door if you can. And we're going to want to stay focused so that you get the most out of this webinar. So if you are ready to start the webinar, raise your hand and say, I'm in, I'm all in, and then type in the chat box, I'm in. And you may think that it's odd for me to say to raise your hand and say something out loud when we're on a webinar, and I really can't see you. On the other hand, you are sending a signal to the universe that you're here, that you're ready, you're participating, and you're fully aware of everything that's going on, and you're ready to participate completely and fully. So I will be checking the chat box every now and then. So if you have a question, just type something in the chat box. And I will, over time of the webinar, be asking you questions. So just type the answers to the questions inside the chat box. And for those of you who don't know me, I would like to introduce myself to you and let you know how I started in all of this information, all of this coaching that I do. It was a number of years ago, and my mother was dying of cancer, and I had just ended a significant relationship. And I was feeling lost and sad and just really wasn't sure what I should be doing next. And then I realized that one of my core values is fun. So I went to see a friend of mine perform. She's a folk singer. And when I was there, I looked around and they had a bookstore. And I noticed that a lot of the books that I had read, they sold there. So here I was in this place of feeling lost and disconnected and just really sad. And I'm sure many of you have felt this way too. And by paying attention to my core value of fun, I stepped out of that place and I stepped into a different place where I could actually have fun and notice the things around me. So I noticed that the books this place was selling, a lot of them I had read. So I figured this would be a good place for me to be. And it ended up to be Unity Church, and I started attending there. And if anybody knew me back then, you would say that this next statement that I made would be a little bit odd. The first 3 Sundays I cried because I felt this sense of connection and this sense of happiness and well-being just being there. So how many of you have paid attention to your longings or your discontent, paid attention to something in you and did something that was different, that was out of character, and it turned out to be one of the best things that you could ever do for yourself? So I started teaching classes and attending classes, and then started teaching classes at Unity. And that's how I became on the path of being a certified transformational life coach. I really loved it when people got it, you know, and that light bulb goes off and people start seeing things differently and doing things differently. And that is exactly what I did the first day I stepped into that place of listening to my friend singing with all of these amazing books around her. So now I get to coach people into creating extraordinary results. And I am going to give you everything I can during this workshop. And by the end, some of you are going to want to go deeper. So at the end of the workshop, I have a special offer for those of you who want a special opportunity to take this work and build your lives in a powerful way. And for those of you who stay to the end, I also have a special gift worth $147. And I know it's no accident that you're here today. If it wasn't for the pull of something greater seeking to emerge through you, you would not be here. And this workshop is the combination of all 3 of my coaching certifications. So let's get started. You are in the right place if you've tried resolutions and failed. You've given up on resolutions. You've never had any resolutions. And you want, or all of the above. You want 2018 to be better than 2017. So you are in the right place, or any or all of these apply to you. And resolutions mean many things to many people. And when you think about it, they are really goals. So do you have any goals written down for 2018 yet? So just type in the chat box, yes or no. So let's take a look at why New Year's resolutions fail. You have insufficient desire. You've tried it before and it just doesn't work, or you just feel as though it's not necessary. You have insufficient believing power. When you try to come up with goals for the year, you feel as though, well, there's no way I can really obtain that, so why bother? Or you have insufficient support. Many of us have great ideas and really have some ideas on how to put it into reality, and yet we don't have that support that we need to actually create the reality out of those goals. So I want to take a look at this work, the summary of the work by Bronnie Ware. She was a hospice nurse, and she wrote a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And these are, take a look at these and see if any of these you may have right now. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And the fifth one is really the most telling. I wish I had let myself be happier. There are many people who don't think it's a choice. They don't think they have a choice on whether or not to be happy. They think that that's just the way life is, and I'm just going to go along with it. But the truth is that we can, at any given moment, make a choice, make a decision to change anything that's in our life. Now, the Talmud says that every blade of grass has an angel leaning over it saying, grow, grow, grow. And that blade of grass will press through cement seeking the light. And it's the same with you and me. That same power is at work in you and me. And this is what drew you here today, that longing for moreness. Life itself, seeking an ever freer, fuller, more expanded expression through you. And this desire for more life is the most natural thing in the world. So how can you be like that blade of grass that pushes through the cement to see the light? One way is by discovering who we have come here to be. And this will be our first exercise, and this will require the 3x5 card. Now, I know a number of you have done workshops with me before, so if you have done this cue card before, I encourage you to do it again. I have done it many times over the years, and it does change. So I wanted to have you just take out a piece of paper, and along the left-hand side, I want to have you write down up to 7 names of people that you admire. So in the left-hand column, just write down up to 7 names of people that you admire. It doesn't have to be 7. The first time I did this, I had 3 names. So let's play a little bit of music while we do this. So again, on the left-hand column of the page, write up to 7 names of people that you admire. And it could be people that are in your life right now. It could be historic figures like Lincoln or Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi. It could be fictional characters even. Harry Potter made it onto my list recently because I love magic. So it could be even your imaginary friend from when you were younger. It could be a cartoon character. It could be a superhero. It could be anybody, just anybody that you admire. Write down up to 7 names in that left-hand column. And then next to those names, write down up to 3 attributes of these people that you admire. It could be compassion, they're a lifelong learner. In my case, Harry Potter, I wrote down visionary and leader. So write down up to 3 attributes for each person on your list. Again, it's up to 3. The first time I did this, I had 3 names and 1 attribute for each person. Once you have those attributes written down, see if any of them could be combined, or if there are any repeats. Because what we want to do is come up with a list of up to 7 attributes that you admire in these people, a total of 7. So see if anything can be combined, or if any attribute is repeated over again. And again, this is just a single word or a very short phrase that identifies what you admire about these people. And once you have those 7 attributes, put them on that 3x5 card, or put them, if you're just using a piece of paper, write them at the bottom. So up to 7 attributes. And just leave a line before you write the 7, just so that you have a line above that. So again, just transfer those up to 7 attributes on either on a 3x5 card or lower on your paper with a blank line above it. Because what we're going to do on that blank line above it, we're going to write, "This is who I have come here to be." So if you're just reading this on a piece of paper, write "This is who I have come here to be" above your attributes. If you have a 3x5 card, write it at the top of the card. And then I just want to ask, were there any surprises on your list? Were there any people that you were surprised that came to you? Or are there any attributes that were a surprise to you? And this really is who you have come here to be, because you could not recognize these attributes in someone else unless you had them in yourself. So you always want to make sure that you look at this cue card. And when you're feeling a little bit off, look at the cue card and say, if this is who I came here to be, which of these attributes could I use in this moment? And you want to make sure that you are being that person and using those attributes. And you can really use that in many, many different ways. So again, if there was anybody on your list that was a surprise, just write that in the chat box. Or if any attributes you thought were a little bit surprising. And just remember that these are in you also, or you wouldn't recognize them in anybody else. So I just want to have you look at how somebody that attended one of my workshops in the past. Now, Christine, something like the day after the workshop, she ran into a situation and she remembered her cue card, and she asked herself, how can I be in alignment with my cue card? And she immediately knew how to approach the challenge in her life. And she was able to resolve it in a much easier, more satisfying way than she ever had in the past. So this is just one thing that we want to pay attention to, one of our tools that we can use to create a better life for ourselves. So now that we've created our cue card, it's time to build a new dream. And it's been said that the quality of our life is determined by the quality of the questions we ask. And most of us are taught to ask questions that are from small thinking, like, how am I going to get to the end of the month and pay my bills? When we could be asking more empowering questions like, how can I travel to the south of France and make $10,000 doing it? And this is an interesting question because one of my mentors, Mary Morrissey, I received that example from her. And she was actually in France, and she said to her husband, Joe, where are we? And he said, well, we're in France. And she said, and what are we doing here? He said, well, you're speaking. And she said, yes, I'm speaking in the south of France, and I'm making $10,000 doing it. So what do you want to do with your life? Do you want to think small? Do you want to think, how can I get to the end of the month and pay my bills? Or do you want to think bigger thoughts like, how can I travel to the south of France and make $10,000 doing it? It doesn't have to be the south of France if that's not where you want to go, but how can I do X and make Y doing it? So we want to always make sure that we have these empowering questions and that are going to lead us to a better life. So here's an example from one of my clients, Mary, and she said that in the past she would have given up out of frustration. And now she has a lot of tools that can help her manifest her dreams, and this gives her a feeling of freedom. So we want to make sure that we have a feeling of freedom in our life. And this freedom is manifesting the life of your dreams. So how do you turn your dreams into reality? It's going to take some work of defining. And the most successful people on the planet have learned to use their mind in a particular way that allows them to skyrocket their results. And we want to remember that the problem is never the problem. The problem is always our thinking about the problem. And dream building starts with our thinking. Everything is created twice. If you look around the room that you're in, the chair you're sitting in was first a thought. The window that you may be looking out was first a thought before it became a reality. And Wallace Wattles wrote some amazing books in the early 1900s. And he said that thinking is the hardest work in the world. And that's why most people don't do it. So what keeps us from living our dreams or living by default, having a let's just see what happens attitude, or living out of design? One of the ways is our personal paradigms, the way we were raised. I don't know how many of you know how elephants are trained. When the elephants are very young, they put this heavy shackle around them, that's chain, and they stake it into the ground. And the elephants soon learn that no matter what they do, they cannot pull that chain out of the ground. So they learn that when they feel that tug, they can't go that way. And then as they get older, they just replace that chain, that heavy chain, with a thin river weed. So obviously, as elephants are older, they could very easily break that river weed. And yet they know, they have been trained from very young that when they feel that tug, they can't go in that direction. So that's how the trainers have the elephants go in the direction they want. They feel that tug, they know they can't go that way, and they go a different way. Another way is what we call race consciousness or collective consciousness. So if we look at these Time magazine art covers, the economy, the energy crisis, the war in the Middle East, the big freeze, all of these covers are at least 30 years old. So think about it. We have been in the same conversation for at least 30 years. And this is what we are bombarded with every single day. And James Allen was another amazing writer. And As a Man Thinketh, he wrote, just as a gardener cultivates his plot, keeping it free from weeds and growing the flowers and fruits which he requires, so may man tend to the garden of his mind. So we want to be constantly planting seeds and pulling weeds. We want to, of our thoughts. We want to plant the seeds of our vision and pull the weeds of our paradigms. Plant the seeds of what we love and pull the weeds of what's holding us back. So here's another client of mine, Anna Kay. And in the past, she said when she ran into trouble, she would have asked herself, what am I thinking? She would have abandoned the project. And she is a playwright. And she had a director, and she was in the middle of a production, and the director quit for personal reasons. And she said in the past, she would either abandon the project or she would have become director herself. And either one of those would have created a lot of stress. But she went through the process. She found an amazing director, and the play was a huge success. And she said even more than the success of the play was the success of how she was in the process. So she moved forward in the face of fear and self-doubt, and she created an amazing project, better than she has in the past. So are you ready? Are you ready for something bigger? Are you ready to use your thoughts to define your dreams? And if you are, raise your hand and type yes in the chat box. So defining the dream will require a piece of paper also. So you can either use the same paper or you can have a new piece of paper. So just make sure you have a pen and paper handy for this. So when you're defining your dream, the most important question to ask yourself is, what would I love? Not what do I think I can do, not what does the economy say I can do, not what do my current situation or circumstance say I can do, not what does other people think I should do, but what would I love? So just for a moment, think about, what would I love? And you want to pay attention to your longings and your discontents. Your longing is your sense of longing, and this is all life that is seeking to express itself more fully through you. And then your sense of discontent is the true potential seeking to express itself through you. And it's this longing of longings, what you want more of, or discontent, which is what you want less of. Sometimes your longings speak louder, and sometimes your discontent speak louder. So there's a you seeking to emerge through you. It's seeking an ever freer, fuller, more expanded experience and expression through you. And just like inside an acorn is an oak tree seeking fuller expression, both our longings and our discontent inform our conscious mind. So we think in pictures. We want to draw as vivid picture as you can. Let your imagination go wild. And we all have an imagination. Some people say they don't. And yet if I say to you, think about your partner or loved one is 2 hours late, then you have no way of reaching that person. Your imagination goes wild. And you want to state your dream as approach goals versus avoidance goals. For example, if I say, don't think about the Statue of Liberty. Don't think about her out there in the harbor. Don't think about her arm up in the air holding that torch. What are you thinking about? The Statue of Liberty, of course. So we want to say things like live in financial abundance versus getting out of debt. Move with comfort and ease versus no more back pain. Enjoy living at my ideal weight versus losing weight. And you want to make it in the present tense. I am so happy and grateful now that, as if it's happening already. And you want to make it a 3-year vision to trick your ego into staying silent. If you say, this is what I want to accomplish, then your ego will come up with all kinds of ways that you had New Year's resolutions in the past and didn't meet them. So you want to make it a 3-year vision because your ego has no idea what you can accomplish in 3 years. So we're going to do an experiment in which become conscious of our dreams. So I invite you to close your eyes to eliminate any deep distractions and take a deep breath. Imagine in your lap is a book, and every single page is a day in your life. And there's lots of pages on the right and on the left. On the left, all of the pages are written on. It's been a day in your life. And the right is blank, all white sheets. You have been given the power. You have been given the authority. Will these pages be written by design or by default? This is your moment. So gazing down on the highest point of view, take a kind glance at your life. And before we continue, I want to just go through and have a little bit of an assessment. So let's look at your current life right now in the 4 areas of your life. And just make note of a number from 1 to 5 based on how you feel about this area of your life. So your health and well-being. What is your life, your health and well-being like right now? A 1 would be, yeah, you're not really very happy with it. A 5 is, I'm living a vibrant, healthy life. I jump out of bed every morning and I am just feeling healthy and happy all the time. So just write down between 1 and 5 on how you feel right now about your health and well-being. And then if we look at our love and relationships, how are you feeling about your friendships, your work relationships, your more personal relationships? If you have children or a spouse, how do you feel about those relationships? And again, from a 1 to 5, a 1 is, yeah, no, the relationships aren't working at all. Or a 5 is, I have an amazing relationship with my friends, my family, my spouse, my partner. Everything is great in my relationship realm. So just jot down a 1 to 5 in that area. And then if we look at our career or creative expression or our vocation, how are you feeling with the type of work you're doing in the world? Again, I really want a new job. I want to do something different. I don't like what I'm doing. A 5 is, yeah, I can't wait to go to work every morning. I am so happy and alive and vibrant when I am doing this work that I love to do. And then if we look at time and money freedom, the amount of time and money freedom you have in your life, just give it a 1 to 5. It could be a 1 would be, I don't have any time, I don't have any money, I'm stuck in this drudgery. A 5 would be, I have the time I need to do what I need and the money, more importantly, the money to do exactly what I would love to do. So again, a 1 to 5 in this area of your life. So because this is a webinar and have a limited time, what I'm going to have you do is just pick one of these 4. So you might want to pick, or maybe 1 or 2. Pick 1 or 2 with the lowest number or one that you would really love to change. It may not be the lowest number, but it's something that you would really love it if you could change this part of your life. And so we're going to dream. We're going to create a vision for a life you would love in one of these areas of your life. So again, you want to be in that place of what would I love? What would I love in this area of my life that I would like to change right now? And again, it could be either a low number or just something that you are hoping to change. So think about your health. What would you love in terms of your health? How do you feel in your body? What's your image of health? What activities do you engage in? If this is the area that you selected, just jot down a couple of things that you would love for your health. And what about your relationships? Are you longing to deepen an existing relationship, have more harmony, have a deep, loving relationship with that special someone? What would that relationship be like? And how about your career or creative expression? What kind of work would you love to do in the world? How do you see yourself expressing your gifts? How do you make your job more fun? What would you love in the area of your career or creative expression? And what would you love in terms of the flow of money in your life? What would you do with that money? Go on a trip? Have the home you've always wanted? Give in ways you've always wanted to give? And how do you spend your time? Is there enough to do what you want? What would you love in terms of the flow of time or money in your life? So just take a few minutes and whichever one of these areas you selected, just jot down, I am so happy and grateful now that. And jot down a few things in one or two areas of this. So this is your life. What would you love? It's 3 years from now. Everything worked out. So just type in the chat what area of your life that you're looking, if you feel comfortable, type what area of your life you would love to change. Also, at this point, if anybody has any questions, just type that in the chat box also. And then I encourage you to go back and fill in the different areas that you did not select. And remember, you want to make sure it is based on what would I love, not based on circumstance. Because when you ask what would I love, you are on a different vibration. And there is a connection with when you are, Richard is asking about writing versus typing. There is a connection that's made in your mind when you are writing. There is, I don't have that offhand, but there is a study that shows that writing down your goals, writing down your dreams, you have a much better chance of it happening. And even handwriting versus typing is even more powerful. So it's something about the connection of your hand moving in those letters, making that connection with your brain that makes it even more real. So thank you for asking that question. That is very important. if you were typing right now, I encourage you to go back and write this down so that you have your piece of paper and you're writing it, because that will have a much bigger impact also. So thank you for that, asking that question, Richard. And it is very important to write it down, not just think it, but ink it, so to speak. And then there also the question about clarity. We do think in pictures. So if you asked an architect to build me a comfortable house, they wouldn't really know what that meant to you. So that's why you want to have those details and have those pictures. Some people, even people whose primary creative method is not visual, you still think in pictures. For example, if I say think of your front door, you don't see the letters D-O-O-R. You in some way see to some degree your front door. For example, my main learning tool is kinesthetic. So part of me really doesn't feel as though I'm a visual person. And yet when I say think of my front door, I have this like vision of what my front door looks like. So you always want to have that clarity. And you could even create a vision board if that would help too. Just find magazines and pictures that represent what it is you would love, and use your vision, create a vision board, or have pictures or something like that to do that. So that is just one of the ways that you can help create clarity in your mind. So I love this quote by Goethe. Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now. So that's what we want to do. We want to begin now by creating the dream of our life and then actually stepping into it and living it. So we're going to be testing our dream. You might ask yourself, how do I know this dream is right for me? Is it worthy of me? Is this the highest possibility for me? So imaginally step into what you wrote down for what you would love in this area of your life. And then answer these questions. Does it give me more life? Does it align with my core values? Does it cause me to grow? Does it require a power bigger than me? If you know how to get to your dream, it's not big enough. Make it bigger. And is there some good in it for others? And some people feel as though it's being selfish to find the love of their life. And if that's your dream, then that's your dream. And just know that other people seeing two people in love is a gift to everyone. So if you answered yes to all 5 of these questions for what you wrote down, just raise your hand and type yes in the chat box. Does it give me life? Does it align with my core values? Does it cause me to grow? If you know how to get there, make it bigger. Does it require a power higher than myself? You don't have to know the how. You just have to know the what for now. And is there some good in it for others? And if you answered yes to these questions, then your vision is right for you. And I also want to give a little bit of word of caution here. And be careful who you share your dream with, because your dream is very fragile right now. And it could be you share it with somebody and they just raise their eyebrow and say, really? And that can stop you from moving forward. So you want to make sure that if you share your dream with somebody, it's somebody that can completely and totally support you without giving any negative feedback. So we want to be deciding for our dream. There was a young boy who was in high school, and his father was a horse trainer. And he had traveled around with his father, and finally in his senior year, he was in a high school where they had been in for, I think like 2 years. And he had this homework assignment to create his dream life? What would he love to be doing with his life when he was older and had his dream life? And he wrote down the story about having a horse ranch with a house of a certain size and a barn of a certain size, and the rooms were all of a certain size, and the stables could hold horses, and he would bring out some youth to ride the horses and teach people how to ride horses. And it was just, he just had such a good time creating this dream of his. So he handed the paper in, and when he got the paper back, the teacher, it was a big red F on it, and below that it said, "See me." So he went to his teacher and he said, what's going on? What is this all about? And the teacher said, you know, with your background, this is really going to take a lot of money. Do you really think you haven't even been in the same school for more than 2 years in a row. How are you going to accomplish that? If you go home and rewrite this with something that's more realistic, something that you really can accomplish, then I'll change your grade. So he went home and he asked his father, he said, Dad, I don't know what to do. And his father said, you know, son, that's really up to you. You're the only one that can make that decision. So the next day he went into school and he told his teacher, you can keep my grade. I am keeping my dream. And the thing about this, there was a man that was telling the story to a group of school kids. And it was this man. And if you looked around, everything that he had dreamed was in this property that he had. And he brought through school kids on a periodic basis to teach them how to ride and to help them learn that they have their dreams and they can achieve their dreams too. And he said that a couple of months ago, the teacher that he had in high school came through and he said to him, you know, back then I killed a lot of people's dreams. I am so happy that you did not listen to me. So we want to pay attention and decide for our dream. And it requires a commitment, a willingness to get bigger than our circumstances and bigger than those around us might say. And it requires a willingness to live from a larger truth of who we are, from the greatness within us, rather than our circumstances in our life. So if you're ready to commit to your dream, raise your hand and type yes in the chat box. So we have defined our dream. We've tested it to make sure it's worthy of us. And we've decided for our dream. So how do we actually step into our dream? One of my mentors, Mary Morrissey, says you cannot get to your dream. You must come from it. In order to come from it, you must become it. So we want to put on that dream. So let's talk about how we can do this. We're going to take a look at some famous dream builders, how they changed their circumstance and put on their dream and manifested into reality from that place. Henry Ford had a dream of an internal combustion engine and a car that was affordable to the middle class. And the Wright brothers had a dream of a flying machine. Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream of equality and justice for all. And then most recently, Diana Nyad had a dream of swimming from Cuba to Florida without a shark cage. And at the age of 64, after 6 attempts, she finally accomplished it. And then there is you. You are a dream builder. You've said yes to your dream. You've defined your dream. And now it's time to step into being that dream. Muhammad Ali says champions aren't made in the gyms. Champions are made from something they have deep inside them, a desire, a dream, a vision. So we want to put on our dream. One way of becoming our dream is to begin to fine tune it with your whole body to the frequency of the dream. You want to 5 sensorize it. So right now, look at what you have written down and become that person. Use all 5 of your senses to put on that life. What does it look, sound, feel, taste, smell like? Feel it with your entire body and get into that frequency of being that person and allow yourself to put on that life. What does this person do, say, eat, wear? Who do you hang around with? What kind of conversations do you have? How does this person walk out the door in the morning? What do you watch on television? What don't you watch on television? What does this person read? Step into that vision and put on being that person and stay in that feeling of being that person. So just for a moment, step into your dream. 5 sensorize it. This will put you on a different vibration where you will see different things. So type in the chat box, how does that feel, putting on being that person? So now is the time to look at what you have written. And by putting on the dream, did anything new come to you? So write down anything new that may have come to you. Jot down any last minute things. And then you want to leave some space, and at the bottom of the page, write this or something even better still. When we say this or something even better still, we hold our vision in an open hand so that as things come to us, we can add to it. We can change our vision. We want to make sure that we do it for something better as opposed to fear that we can't accomplish it. And when we keep our vision in open hand, we can see things that we may not have seen otherwise. Whereas if we say, this is it, this is what I want, then we close down that connection to infinite possibilities. So at the bottom of the page, write down this or something even better still. And there was a gentleman who went into a bank wanting to cash a check. So he said to the bank teller, can you cash this check for me? And the bank teller said, sure, just turn it over, write your name on the back and give it to me, and I'll give you your money. So he said to the teller, whoa, 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 whoa. You want me to put my name on it and give it to you? And the teller said, yep, that's bank policy. Just write your name on it, hand it over to me, and I'll give you your money. And the gentleman said, what happens if I give you the check and you don't give me my money? Then what? And the teller said, it's bank policy. You can trust me. If you give me the check, I will give you the money. So they went back and forth a few times, and the teller finally said, I can't help you. Maybe a bank down the street will give you your money without you signing it. So the gentleman went down to the next bank, same thing. Third bank, same thing. He's in the 4th bank going back and forth with the teller, and the teller finally reached under the cupboard and bopped him in the head with a Nerf bat and said, sign the check. So he signed the check, got his money, went back to the 1st bank, and he said, see, down the street, they gave me my money. And the teller said, yeah, but I bet even down the street you had to sign your name to it, right? And he said, well, they explained it a little different than you did. So how often do you go to the teller of life and say, I want this, and yet you're not willing to send your name to it? Once you give me this, then I will do that. How many times do you go to the teller of life and say, I want this job, I want this amount of money, I want this. So give this to me, and then I will commit to it. We want to make sure that we commit to our dream right now. So underneath this or something better, I want you to sign your name and date it so that you can look back on this and know this is the day I decided to create my dream and live it vibrantly. So just write at the bottom of the page, type in your name and your date and today's date. So write down one word that described how it felt when you signed your name to your dream. and then type that in the chat box. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the program, I have a special offer for you. And for those of you who are ready to take action on your dream, between my speaking and coaching schedule, I've set aside a limited number of time slots for vision discovery assessments. And this is a 35 to an hour phone call with me, where we get clear on where you are, what you would love to create, and the next most important step to take you there that will move you in the direction of your dream. And this assessment is valued at $250, but I'm offering it complimentary to anyone here today. And I have only 10 openings available. So if you're interested, click on that assessment appointment button. So imagine this is an experiment and 3 months come and go. What if these were the best 3 months of your life? If you make 1 degree shift right now, you will be in a whole new place in 3 months. So how do you want to start 2018? Do you want to start it with a clear path to your dream? And this is really what I am offering to you. This is something that interests you, then sign up for it. And if it's not, you're not one of the first 10, just email me and I can see what I can arrange. So how do we shift our mindset to make it easier to stay connected with our dream? One way is Mind PT. Mind PT is a pre-made movie that includes affirmations, pictures, and music. And listening to it for 3 minutes can shift your mindset for up to 6 to 8 hours. And for those of you who stay till the end, I can see exactly who is still here. I will send you an email with a link to receive 3 Mind PT sessions, which are valued at $147. So Mind PT, they say a happy mindset. You are 23% more energetic, 31% more productive, 23% less stressed. And you have 37% higher sales. Who wouldn't want to have a positive, happy mindset? And if we look at the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset, the good news is we can shift our mind from being a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, because growth mindset is really where you would love to be. So your mind is like a rubber band, and it's going to want to go back and put things back the way they were. So we're going to go through some more tools that can help you stay on the right track and move forward. This next one is the power pose. And this is Amy Cuddy came up with this, discovered this. And what it is, if you stand with your feet shoulder width apart and your hands in an open receptive way, either on your hips or up in the air, and you do this for 2 minutes, it shifts your physiology for up to 3 hours. And the way that it does this is it increases your testosterone, which gives you confidence, and lowers your cortisol, which is your stress hormone. So if you have to go into a meeting or go someplace where you're feeling a little bit stressed, just for 2 minutes before you go into the room or before you do something, stand in the power pose. And I would time it, because 2 minutes when you're doing something like this feels like a very long time. It may not seem like 2 minutes would be, but just I would time it. So stand in this power pose for 2 minutes before you have to do something that you feel as though is a little bit stressful. So again, your mind is like a rubber band and is going to go back to what it is familiar with. And our paradigms are really just our standard operating procedures. It's a set of ideas, a way of looking at something. And it's most likely a paradigm if you hear yourself saying because or yeah, but. So we want to first notice what we're noticing. And we want to notice our paradigms and ask, are they empowering or disempowering? So one of the ways that we can shift our paradigms is you can either shift your paradigms one of two ways: proactively with repeating something, making a new thought and having that new thought become reality, or it could be a very strong, something very strong happens to you, or something that you don't want to happen to you. So we want to make sure that we reframe our paradigms in a positive way. So the three proactive keys to a new paradigm is our mentor. Our mentor provides support, inspiration, accountability, motivation, guidance. I am a mentor and I have a mentor. Someone who can be there and can turn around and reach a hand out and help pull you up. And then there is structure with programs, contents, consistency, repetition, community. We want to have an installation of a new thinking pattern, which consistently over time that really creates a new paradigm, new ways of thinking. And I am in a structure. And then a vision. It includes clarity, emotion, relationship, and it's constantly evolving. Nothing gives you more confidence than having a crystal clear vision and a mentor to help you with your vision. And it's your mentor who helps you work on your vision, helps you relate to your vision. And being in a structure helps you gain clarity of the vision. And it's all tied together, and the structure is where you grow. And it's your mentor helps you stay inside the structure of support over time. And they're all related and work together. And inside is you. This is what I call the geometry of growth. If you really want to grow, put yourself inside the middle of this triangle. And the triangle of transformation is the three keys to creating the greatest results in the shortest amount of time to help you create lasting change, to help you create a 2018 that was better than 2017. And in the book, Change or Die, Alan Deutschman says that 9 out of 10 people don't change their lifestyle behavior, even when their life depended on it, unless they had the support of a coach. So how do we reframe our paradigm? First thing you want to do is to notice what you're noticing. Is it empowering or disempowering? If it's empowering, lean into it and see what else comes to you. If it's disempowering, you want to ask, what can I do to change that? So you want to change your thoughts. What can I do to make this thought more empowering? And then that will change your outcome. And the way this happens is by taking action. Action is like the ground wire to electricity. Electricity doesn't work without a ground wire, and your paradigm will be much more difficult to change without taking action. So you want to ask yourself, is this empowering? Is it disempowering? If it's disempowering, you want to look back to your vision and say, if this is who I am, what would I be thinking? What would I be doing? And then take action based on being that person, and it will change your outcome completely. Now, I want to tell a little story about how I did this in the past, and this is what I call Snowmageddon. I'm not sure. I know some of you are in places where it is warm, so you may never have experienced this. This was a couple years ago. I had 6 feet of snow in just a couple of days. So if we look at this picture, that is unfortunately 3 cars in my front driveway. So I had 3 cars in the driveway under 5 feet of snow. And luckily I have a neighbor who dug out had Bobcat and dug out everybody's driveway. But just getting from my front door to where he plowed my driveway took almost an hour. And I came back in the house and I just flopped down on the couch and said to myself, I can't do this. There's no way. I can't. 3 cars in the driveway with 3 feet of snow on top, 5 feet, sorry, 5 feet of snow on top. I can't do it. And then I thought about it. It's like, well, that thought wasn't very empowering. So how can I change my thought? How can I change my outcome? So it occurred to me that 20 minutes at a time, I would go out and I would shovel and see how far I got in 20 minutes. So my daughter and I did that for 20 minutes at a time. We went out and shoveled, and this is her digging out her car. You can see this pile of snow still on top of it. And then by the time the driving ban was lifted, we had all of the cars dug out of the driveway. So you can see I noticed what I was noticing. I changed my thoughts. I changed my outcome. And that is really the best way one of the best ways to change your paradigm. So again, if we look at one of my clients, is Cindy. She said she had no idea how negative her thoughts were. They were just there, unrecognized. And now she reframes her paradigm, replaces those negative thoughts with the positive thoughts, and her life is changing for the better. So things happen that we cannot control, but we can change our circumstances, and we cannot change our circumstances, but we can change how we relate to our circumstances. And that's really what it's about. Changing how we relate and staying in that vibration of being that person of who we would love to be. We want to constantly go back to our vision and say, if this is who I am, what would I be doing today? So I love this quote by W.H. Murray. He says, once one is committed, there is hesitancy. Until one is committed, there's hesitancy, a chance to draw back concerning all acts of initiative and creation. And the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur that never would have otherwise occurred. And that's really what it's all about, is being in that place where providence moves. So how do we get from where we are to where we want to be? How do we make New Year's resolutions easier? We want to fuel our desire, increase our believing, and surround ourselves with support. So how do we do this specifically? You fuel your fire by living from your vision. You want to use your cue card in situations and say, look at your cue card and say, what quality on my cue card would help me in this situation? You want to use Mind PT to help shift your mindset. And you want to use that power pose to help you when you feel as though you have to go into a stressful situation. And another big thing you can do is to find at least one thing to be grateful for. And gratitude is on the same frequency as abundance. So if we can find at least one thing in every situation to be grateful for, that is a great way to fuel your fire. So again, you want to notice what you're noticing, change your thoughts, and to change your outcome, you want to take action. And then surround yourself with support. You want to have partners in believing. You want to have a mentor. You want to have a coach. So we want to make sure that we are always start from where you are. Ask yourself every day, what's one thing I can do today to take me in the direction of my dream? So what would you do if you didn't believe it was impossible? Ask yourself that and then take that step. You always want to be in that place of your vision. And here's another one of my clients that says that she has great accomplishments now. She's turned her no's and not sure and negative aspects in her life into yeses. So we're coming up on the end of the webinar, and I want to make sure that you know that every time you step into your vision and ask your question, what can I do? You will be on a different vibration and you will see things differently. If you want to know about what I mean by vibration, think about walking into a room where people have been fighting and you feel that agitation and you may even become angry yourself. And then think about what it feels like to walk into a room where everybody is happy and laughing. And it's that happy and laughing vibration that you want to stay in. You want to stay in that vibration of living from your dream. So you want to take a step forward every single day. Ask yourself, what can I do today? What can I do this week? What can I do this month? And that's how you create your New Year's resolutions. So you want to have a clear vision of where you want to be, and then just keep asking yourself, how do I get there? And Howard Thurman said, don't do what you think the world needs. Do what makes you come alive, because what the world needs is more people who come alive. So I want to thank you for attending. It has been my joy to serve you. I love teaching this material and breathing life into your dreams and holding a safe place for us to think big together. And I would love to support you in getting from where you are to creating a life you'd love living. And I know from years of experience in this field that when people leave this webinar today, life happens. And you get busy. And over the next year, statistically, 80% of the people on this webinar will create very similar version of the life you have. However, some of you know that you're ready to invest in your dream. And for those of you who are ready to accelerate your results and manifest your dream, just click on that button. It will take you right to my calendar. We can schedule some time together. So that's all I have for today. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Are you ready to move into 2018 and have it be your best year yet? And if you are, just type in that chat box, I'm ready. So I want to thank you again for coming. I feel privileged and honored to have spent this time with you. And as you start your new year, remember who you truly are. Remember you have greatness in you, and know that this is your moment. This is your time. So today is your day to live bravely, love boldly, and go after your dream. So thank you very much for attending. And again, anyone still here will receive a link to 3 Mind PT sessions, which is valued at $147.
This is my life. This is my time. I believe in me.
This is your life. This is your time. And I believe in you. So take your vision and spend some time with it and really create in vivid detail what you would love in those areas of your life. And every day ask yourself, if this is who I am, what will I do today? And again, I want to thank you for attending. Anybody that is still here will receive Wallace Wattles. Wallace Wattles wrote he wrote The Science of Getting Rich, The Science of Being Great, How to Get What You Want. He wrote a number of different books at the turn of the century. So you can just go to Amazon or anywhere that you purchase your books and look up Wallace Wattles. The Science of Being Great, I would recommend starting with. If you have any other questions, just type them in the chat box. Again, I want to thank you for attending and make it an amazing 2018. You have a great start. So just spend a little bit of time filling in your vision, have that detail, and make it an amazing 2018. Thanks for coming. I'm just going to hang out for a few more minutes. If you have any questions, type them in the chat box. If you would love to get on my schedule, just type that, click that assessment appointment button and get on my calendar. So I'll just hang out for a few more minutes in case anybody has any questions. Again, thank you for attending, and make 2018 the best year ever. I know I will. I will send you a copy of the 5 Regrets, Richard. The 5th is the most important one, that people didn't believe they could allow themselves to, they had a choice about being happy. I will send that to you along with the link for Mind PT. Thanks again for coming. Make it a great year.